All right, let's jump right into it. We're kicking things off with a pretty bold claim from a cultural icon, and it's aimed at some of the biggest names in television. This whole story really gets you thinking about a huge question in media today: who gets invited to the table and who's told to wait outside? Yep, you heard that right. That is a direct quote from Ice Cube. We're talking a music legend, a movie star, saying he's been shut out by one of the most powerful people in media history. A claim like that, wow, it really makes you wonder what's going on behind the curtain with media gatekeeping. So let's unpack this. How does a star of his caliber end up feeling this way? We're going to dive into the story he tells, pinpoint the exact shows he's calling out, and see what this one accusation might tell us about the bigger picture of media control versus independent thought. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we first have to understand how Ice Cube sees himself. The entire foundation of his argument is built on this one idea, that he is, first and foremost, an independent thinker. So the heart of his claim is basically this. He believes he's being sidelined not for something he did, but for how he thinks. He's making the case that because he won't just follow a pre-approved script, he's basically being uninvited from the party. And this quote right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? He's drawing a line in the sand, positioning himself as an outsider who refuses to just fall in line. In his mind, he's not playing for the team, and that makes him seem like a liability to certain brands. And listen, he's not being vague about it at all. He calls out two of the most powerful and well-known shows in daytime television, by name. And there they are, The View and Oprah. Now, these aren't just TV shows, are they? They're cultural institutions. So by naming them, Ice Cube isn't just airing a personal problem, he's taking on two of the biggest forces that have shaped public conversation for decades. For The View, he gets really specific. He claims that producers told him, straight up, that his perspective was an issue for some of the hosts. Now, that suggests this wasn't just some scheduling conflict, but a deliberate choice, maybe even coming from the talent on screen. And his story about Oprah is just as detailed. He points to two of his huge projects, the hit movie Barbershop and his TV series Black White. In both of those cases, he says the casts were invited on the show, but he, the star and producer, was noticeably missing from the invitation. So the big question is, why? Why would these massive shows allegedly single him out? Let's dig into the motive, at least according to Ice Cube. This really lays out the conflict he's describing. On one side, you've got how he sees himself, independent, an outsider, not in the club. But on the other side, he's claiming these shows are only looking for like-minded people who fit a certain brand of politics, a brand that he just doesn't subscribe to. But what does he actually mean by their brand of politics? Well, he's pretty quick to clarify that this isn't some simple left versus right thing. He actually makes a point to define where he doesn't stand. He explicitly says he's not a right-winger, and he pushes back on the idea that he's even all that political. From his perspective, it's not about picking a side. It's about a totally different principle. And this is how he frames his motivation. It's not about political parties, he says, it's about a principle. This is the compass he claims to follow no matter who it might align with or who it might offend. So that's Ice Cube's side of the story. But, there's another way to look at all this, a broader analysis of the media industry itself. And this shifts the focus from just one person's complaint to a much bigger question about how these shows have to operate to protect their brand. And this quote from the podcast host who analyzed this whole thing really raises a practical point. Is it possible that avoiding a guest like Ice Cube isn't just about ideology, but it's actually about control? The theory is that no show wants to bring on a guest who can challenge the hosts and maybe win a debate on their own home turf. That could be a risk to their brand. This kind of analysis leads to some solid advice for all of us watching at home. Basically, do your own research, form your own opinion, and don't just let one TV show tell you how to think. It's a call to be more of an active viewer, which is a direct response to the kind of curated message Ice Cube says he was shut out from. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. It's this razor-thin line, right? On one hand, every show has a right to pick its guests. That's just an editorial choice. But on the other hand, at what point does that choice stop being about creating a good show and start looking like it's silencing different points of view? And that's really the question we're left with. What's the main job of a huge media platform? Is it to protect its brand and its audience by keeping the message consistent, or is it to host the messy, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable conversations that we need to have? It's something to think about, because the answer probably shapes our world a lot more than we realize.